Hello, I will provide you a brief overview of regional trade agreements within the WTO. As you know, generally a WTO member is in breach of its MFN obligation when it grants preferential treatment to a country or a selected group of countries without extending such better treatment to all WTO members. However, WTO members have the right to grant preferential treatment to their trading partners within a customs union or a free trade area without having to extend such better treatment to all WTO members. The purpose of a customs union or a free trade area should be to facilitate trade among the parties to the RTA and not to raise barriers to the trade with other WTO members. RTAs shall be in line with the objectives of the multilateral trading system and not constitute obstacles to it. For trading goods, the exception for RTA is found in Article 24 of the GATT. Instead, Article 5 of the GATT applies to Economic Integration Agreement on Trading Services. In addition, the enabling clause, paragraph 2c, allows developing members to conclude among themselves agreements on trading goods known as South-South agreements, subject to more flexible requirements than those contained in Article 24 of the GATT. Now let's see how the exception contained in Article 24 of the GATT for RTAs on trading goods applies through a practical example, the example of a free trade area. Let's assume that Vanin and Medatia are WTO members. Vanin is a developed member, while Medatia a developing member. Suppose that Vanin has a MFN tariff of 6%, while Medatia has a variable MFN tariff ranging between 0 and 30%. Vanin and Medatia conclude an agreement to form a free trade area in which tariffs on all imported goods between them are to be brought down to 0 within a transitional period of 10 years. The question is, can Vanin and Medatia apply a preferential tariff only to products imported among them and not to products imported from other WTO members? In general, in the case of an FTA, or free trade area, Article 24 requires two main conditions. The first one is an internal condition, and that is to facilitate trade between the constituent territories, in this case, Vanin and Medatia. The provision requires that the duties and other restrictive regulations of commerce shall be eliminated with respect to substantially all the trade between the parties of the free trade areas, or at least with respect to substantially all the trade in products originating in such territories. This internal condition is set forth in Article 24, paragraph 8 of the GATT, which allows, where necessary, a few exceptions permitted under other articles of the GATT. In the example, Vanin and Medatia will maintain their tariff structure, that is, the tariff applicable to third countries prior to the formation of the FTA, of a free trade area. Therefore, goods imported into Vanin and Medatia from other members, non-parties to the RTA, will not benefit from the preferential tariff granted within the FTA. The second condition is an external condition, which requires not to create trade barriers towards other WTO members, non-parties to the RTA. The purpose of a free trade area or the customs union should be to facilitate trade between the constituent territories and not to raise barriers to the trade of other members. For free trade areas, the duties and other regulations of commerce imposed on third parties shall not be higher or more restrictive than those existing prior to the formation. This condition is set forth in Article 24, paragraph 5b. Other requirements contained in Article 24 are conditions applicable to the formation of free trade areas, include provisions on transitional periods and transparency provisions, such as, for instance, the notification of the agreement to the WTO. As mentioned above, the enabling clause also allows developing members to conclude among themselves preferential agreements on trading goods subject to less stringent requirements than those contained in Article 24. In the example, since Vanin is a developed country, the RTA between Vanin and Medatia is not covered by the enabling clause. In case Vanin and Medatia decide to extend the coverage of the FTA to trading services, they would also need to comply with the conditions set forth in Article 5 of the GATT. Thank you.